Golden child sister canceled my flight, took a family vacation without me, but her manipulations finally caught up to her. I, 28F, am employed as a paralegal at one of the leading legal practices in San Francisco that focuses on civil litigation and family law. I find it ironic that as I cope with my own family drama, I spend my days painstakingly recording evidence for family disagreements. I assist lawyers in constructing cases against manipulative family members who take advantage of and misuse their relatives' trust on a daily basis. I've gotten really excellent at identifying manipulation patterns and obtaining proof, which will soon prove to be more useful to me personally than I could have ever imagined. Let me tell you a little about myself. My parents have always regarded Olivia, my younger sister, who is 23F, as their miracle kid. Before Olivia was born, my mom had suffered 3 terrible miscarriages, and the agony of those losses almost caused their marriage to fail. For them, Olivia became a symbol of rebirth and optimism when she eventually appeared. Every time she walked into the room, my dad, 56M, a typically quiet high school teacher, would light up. My 54-year-old mother, who owns a small bakery, referred to her as their angel on earth. At first, I understood. Overprotection can result from trauma. I was 5 years old when Olivia was born, and I had seen my parents go through a difficult time. I could see why they showered her with attention. My parents didn't see, or didn't want to see, how Olivia turned their adoration into a weapon. Even the most seasoned attorneys I deal with would be impressed by her remarkable ability to manipulate emotions. As a child, Olivia demonstrated a superb ability to turn any circumstance to her favor. She knew exactly how to manipulate our parents like a fiddle, and her victim act was worthy of an Oscar. She began manipulating me in minor ways, accusing me of pushing her when she fell, which I never did, blaming me for broken toys, and making herself weep whenever I received attention. However, her strategies grew increasingly cunning and vicious as we grew older. One instance that truly reveals her actual nature comes to mind. Our grandma gave me this vintage pocket watch, which has been in the family for many generations, on my 16th birthday. Our great-great-grandfather, who moved from Ireland, owned the exquisitely built watch from the 1890s, which had withstood 2 world wars. For me, the story behind it was everything. Despite receiving a brand new iPhone as a special gift, Olivia pitched a fit because she wanted it too. Remember, this was back when iPhones were still popular. She chose to discipline me when I refused to share it because, after all, it was a birthday present. She sneaked into my room later that night and placed a giant house spider in my pillowcase since she knew I was afraid of spiders because of an event at summer camp when I was a kid. Olivia was the ideal choice to play the worried sister when I woke up screaming and had something crawling on my face. She even succeeded in giving my parents the impression that she had come to my aid right away. Only later, when we were by ourselves, did she confess what she had done, flashing that smug look I had been so accustomed to. A week later, the watch vanished inexplicably. I knew Olivia had taken it, even though we never discovered evidence. She went on the defensive when I accused her, saying that I was jealous of her new iPhone and was only attempting to harm her. The watch never appeared, and I was grounded for a week by my parents for making false accusations. Then there came my junior year, when I had my first serious crush on a man named Jason. We had been studying together for months when he was in my AP chemistry class. I finally had the bravery to ask him to a movie. I spent hours choosing the ideal ensemble, which included a brand new blue dress that I had been saving for months at my part-time job at the neighborhood library. Olivia accidentally spilled her grape juice all over it as soon as Jason entered. She amused him with uncomfortable tales from my early years, such as a particularly embarrassing instance from a school performance in which I had stage fright and became wet myself, while I was upstairs getting changed. I was 6 years old. The entire atmosphere was destroyed by the time I returned downstairs in my backup attire. Olivia had somehow made herself the focus of attention, and Jason could hardly look at me. Jason changed his study partner the following day, and I never heard from him again. She ruined more than just my social life though. Just hours before the due date, Olivia accidentally erased my almost completed common application essay from our shared family computer when I was applying to colleges in my senior year. The hurried version likely cost me admission to a number of prestigious universities, and I had to spend the entire night revising it. Maybe you should have saved a backup copy. Isn't that what smart people do? She simply shrugged when I challenged her. This trend persisted during our adolescence. My mom would always add, "You know how sensitive she is after everything we went through to have her." No matter how I tried to explain Olivia's behavior to our parents, they would dismiss it with a remark like, "She's just young," or, "You need to be more understanding of your sister." I eventually gave up trying. What was the purpose? I was merely the one who caused trouble by speaking up, and Olivia was their best child. Despite being an English teacher who takes great satisfaction in his ability to analyze critically, my dad lost his sight of Olivia. All day long, he would point out deceit and manipulation in Shakespeare's characters to his students, but he was unable to recognize the same trends occurring in his own household. Even worse was my mother. Being Olivia's mother had essentially become her entire identity, as though Olivia's most recent accomplishments, the majority of which I subsequently learned she had lied about or stolen credit for from others, were more significant than her own prosperous bakery business. I was eager to get out of that house by the age of 18. I concentrated on my studies, was accepted to a reputable college across the nation, and left right away. In order to avoid having to approach my parents for money, I worked 2 jobs. As a research assistant and at the college library. I understood that any financial dependence would offer Olivia grounds to criticize me. It was refreshing to go to college. For the first time, I could be myself without Olivia constantly putting me down. However, she made it plain that I wasn't welcome whenever I returned home during breaks, which got fewer and farther between. She would ignore me during meals, snoop through my belongings while I wasn't looking, and cut me off in any conversation I attempted to have with our parents. She even once accessed private customer files on my work laptop, which may have led to my termination if someone had discovered it. How did she react when I challenged her? Our parents, as usual, just shrugged and said, "You shouldn't have left it lying around." They also advised us to get along. After that, I started staying in school or spending my breaks with friends instead of going home. After dedicating myself to my studies, I finished with honors and immediately enrolled in law school. Even my law school graduation was skipped because Olivia had a slight cold and needed them. My parents seemed to be okay with my absence, justifying it as me becoming independent. I am currently 28 years old and have established a prosperous profession as a paralegal at one of the leading law companies in San Francisco. The irony that I spend my days recording the betrayals of other people's families while attempting to forget my own is not lost on me. I specialize in family court matters. Over the past 5 years, I haven't really interacted with Olivia much, only having polite, quick conversations around significant holidays, when I bothered to show up at all. With sporadic phone conversations and generic birthday cards, my connection with my parents grew more and more strained. Then, when my dad suffered a near-fatal heart attack a few months ago, everything changed. I threw everything down and ran home when my mother called to tell me. I was on the next trip home after she uttered my name with an urgency I had never heard before. "Madison, please come. He's asking for you." Her words broke through years of bitterness. Dad was stabilized and lived, but he was badly shaken by the event. As I observed him battling with the several tubes and monitors connected to him during one of our conversations in the hospital, he expressed his desire to spend more time with his loved ones. He said, "Life's too short," in a voice that was weaker than I had ever heard. In addition to recommending lifestyle modifications like regular exercise, the doctors had prescribed a rigorous pharmaceutical schedule. My throat constricted as he spoke about second chances and regrets. I chose to stay for a few days because I could see his point of view. Perhaps since I hadn't taken a sick day in 5 years and had accumulated enough goodwill to last a lifetime, my employer was unexpectedly kind. I could work from home, conducting research and preparing documents from my former bedroom. But my return to the house did not sit well with Olivia. She demonstrated this by moving my laptop during client calls, playing loud music while I was attempting to work, and accidentally unplugging my monitor during crucial video conferences, among other tiny acts of violence. Then one morning at breakfast, Dad suggested that the family go on a trip. He added in a voice full of enthusiasm, "It's been years since we all went somewhere together," reminding me of the father I knew before Olivia seized control of our lives. He wanted to travel to Hawaii, which we had discussed going to when I was younger, before Olivia, before the miscarriages, before everything changed. At first, I was hesitant because hanging out with Olivia for a long period wasn't really exciting. Knowing how much it meant to Dad, though, I consented. During that brunch, I noticed hope in his eyes, something I hadn't seen in years. Although Olivia seemed more interested in eating nails than going on a trip with me, she was unable to refuse Dad's proposition while he was still recuperating from a heart attack. He booked flights and lodging, taking care of everything. I made sure everything was in order, asked for time off, and even prepared case papers ahead of time to make sure nothing would stop me from going. However, I learned that my flight had been inexplicably canceled when we arrived at the airport. I felt angry and perplexed. We went to the airline desk to find out what had happened because Dad insisted he had purchased and paid for all 4 tickets. Only my ticket had been denied, I thought as I looked at Olivia. It was the same sneaky smile I'd seen so many times before, the one she'd worn after the spider incident, After she'd ruined my date with Jason, after she'd gained every little triumph over me, I went straight up to her. I said, "You did this, didn't you?" Mom leapt to Olivia's support. "Your sister would never do something like that." Dad then made an effort to make things better. "It's probably just an airline error. Let's not point fingers." As she mentioned that my ticket had been cancelled yesterday from my parents' home IP address while I was at work, the airline lady appeared uneasy. I was taken aback. Since there were no other flights that day, it didn't seem like a good idea to fly alone the following day. They still refused to accept Olivia as she truly was, despite all the evidence that pointed to her. After hesitating and speculating that they might postpone and reschedule, Dad began to talk about how long it had been since he had taken a holiday, how the doctors had warned that stress was harmful for his heart, and that perhaps it would be best to keep quiet. Mom remarked, "You travel so much for work anyway," without looking at me. "You're not really missing out." Their remarks hurt. To once again prioritize Olivia's comfort over my involvement in the family, they appeared to be requesting permission to depart without me. "You're welcome to go without me," I remarked in a cold tone as I made my way back to San Francisco, determined to move on from the entire situation. I had no idea that Olivia's reputation as a golden child would ultimately bring about her demise. Something changed inside of me as I stood alone in the airport watching my parents and Olivia board their aircraft. I learned the value of paperwork, case building, and waiting for the proper opportunity during my years of paralegal employment. For years, I had been surreptitiously gathering proof of Olivia's manipulation, including witness statements from former classmates and neighbors, emails, texts, and security camera footage. It was time to exploit my professional expertise for my own benefit. In that airport terminal, I decided to stop being the understanding elder sister. No more ignoring the situation. The culmination of years of gathering evidence of Olivia's deceptive actions was imminent, and she wouldn't even anticipate it. I knew better than anyone because I worked as a paralegal, the truth always comes out in the end, and I would be prepared when it did. First update. I never thought my mother would call me in such a frenzy so quickly. As I listened to her frantic voice describe what had transpired at their Hawaii resort, my hands began to shake. Their flawed family vacation had devolved into a nightmare that would ultimately reveal Olivia's true character. It started when Dad's heart medicine started to inexplicably stop working. After 3 days of closely monitoring his medication, my parents discovered that 3 to 4 pills per day were routinely disappearing. Initially, they thought he was misplacing his pills or taking them without remembering, which was a worrying but reasonable explanation considering his recent health problems. My father insisted on looking everywhere in their suite, but at first my mother didn't accept the obvious implications. Nothing was discovered until my mother was at the pool and went to borrow sunscreen from Olivia's room. All of Dad's missing heart pills were in Olivia's bedside drawer, as was his backup prescription bottle, which had reportedly been misplaced during packing. Olivia didn't even attempt to refute it when pressed. "You shouldn't have invited her in the first place," she yelled, alluding to their original plan to include me. Because this trip was supposed to be about us, the real family. Instead, she launched into a diatribe about how I had ruined their perfect family vacation. Things quickly got out of hand. Olivia started flinging objects around the hotel room, breaking multiple glasses and a lamp. She reacted angrily to my father's attempts to soothe her, accusing him of being weak for attempting to reintroduce that drama into their lives and claiming that his heart attack was really a ploy to get attention. When hotel security received complaints about the noise, they weren't impressed by Olivia's performance, unlike when our parents were there. When she refused to stop and started saying that everyone would pay, the hotel staff phoned the police. As my mother explained how she was handcuffed and brought away, I could hear her yelling in the background. She kept saying it was all your fault. My mother wept on the phone. "But Madison, she could have killed your father. Those medications, he needs them." The doctor said even missing a single day could trigger another heart attack. I remained calm and professional. I had learned how to maintain my composure in the face of internal turmoil via years of handling high-stress legal circumstances. I gave the order, "Mom, I need you to do exactly what I say. Take photos of where you found the medication. Document everything. Use your phone to record any conversations with hotel staff or police. Don't delete anything Olivia sends you." The voice of my mother broke. "The police want to press charges. They're saying it's attempted domestic assault or something. Should we get her a lawyer?" "No," I firmly said. "Let me handle everything from here." This was the kind of thing I had been planning. Olivia was taken out of custody 24 hours later, but her freedom would not last long. In her room, the police had discovered more than just cardiac medication. They also found a number of stolen goods, such as cell phones and wallets, from other hotel visitors. While our parents were at the beach or pool, she had been methodically breaking into other rooms. Olivia wasn't finished though. As soon as she got back to the hotel, she started planning her retaliation. She essentially left our parents stranded in Hawaii without access to cash or identity by hiding their wallets and passports. Her message was unmistakable: she would ensure that everyone suffered alongside her if she were going down. I started working with the hotel security personnel right once and made arrangements for emergency monies to be supplied via Western Union. As soon as I described the problem, they were unexpectedly supportive. As it happens, Olivia was already under suspicion by the hotel for acting strangely around the rooms of other visitors. When she was seen trying to enter the hotel's medical storage facility, which had emergency cardiac drugs, on security tape, it was the last straw. She claimed she was only seeking for aspirin when staff confronted her, but the keypad's access log revealed several unsuccessful attempts to enter a restricted location. As I was coordinating with the hotel security staff and local law enforcement that evening, Olivia began sending me more bizarre texts. She said that during her prior snooping, she had obtained private information from my laptop and threatened to disclose it to my company. She was unaware that years prior, I had already reported and documented her unauthorized access attempt to the security team at my company. The truth was shattering my parents, who were finally recognizing Olivia for who she truly was. Dad's blood pressure was dangerously high due to the stress, and Mom was crying uncontrollably. While the court case started, I made arrangements for them to relocate to a separate hotel far from Olivia. During our most recent phone conversation, my father observed, "We ought to have paid attention to you years ago." I had never heard his voice sound older and more worn out. "We couldn't realize we were losing you instead because we were so terrified of losing her." Olivia is currently being investigated by the police. She faces severe charges based on my documenting of her prior actions as well as the recently obtained hotel proof. Karma can occasionally operate through the legal system. Second update. Since my last report, things have drastically become worse. Olivia was released on bail after being charged with several counts of stealing and reckless endangerment, with the stipulation that she must return to our parents' home and attend required mental health assessments. But what transpired next demonstrated that things were much worse than any of us had thought. Olivia transformed our parents' home into a psychological battleground without expressing any regret. She started by methodically deleting family pictures, but just those that featured me. Olivia said she was cleaning the house of negative energy, when Mom questioned her about it. Then, in the middle of the night, she started moving all the furniture around, making loud noises that kept our parents from falling asleep. When she began to interfere with Dad's new medicine schedule, the true risk became evident. He would miss doses or take them at the wrong times because she would alter the time on every clock in the house. She pretended to be innocent when apprehended, saying she was only trying to help organize things better. Any change to his pharmaceutical regimen could result in another cardiac episode, the physicians had cautioned. While officially remaining within the law, Olivia came up with inventive methods to ruin our parents' lives, so I promptly filed for an emergency restraining order. At night, she would stand quietly in their bedroom doorway and watch them attempt to go asleep, or she would play music that was precisely 1 decibel below the noise regulation limit. When Dad found out that the brake lines on his automobile had been tampered with, it was the tipping point. The mechanic verified that the damage was deliberate, but we were unable to identify Olivia. She accidentally ignited a minor fire in the kitchen at 3 a.m., that same day while cooking. My dad called me crying. "We can no longer live this way, Madison. My blood pressure is skyrocketing, and your mother hasn't slept in days. However, she is our daughter. How could we have let her down so severely?" I made arrangements for Olivia to be evaluated by a mental evaluation team using my legal connections. Instead of cooperating, she launched into a thorough conspiracy theory about how I had planned everything, including the hotel mishaps and Dad's heart attack, to turn our parents against her. The initial assessment from the evaluation team was unsettling. They observed a total lack of empathy and extreme narcissistic characteristics, pointing to a pattern of behavior that had probably been growing for years. Olivia would either deny everything or defend it as essential for protecting her family, from my influence when I showed her the evidence of her behavior. The process has been a nightmare, but our parents have finally consented to formally evict her. She has been methodically wrecking the house by punching holes in the walls, ruining appliances, and shredding documents. She asserts that the house would never feel the same without her and says she is marking her territory. Things took a far darker turn last night. During one of her subsequent 3 a.m., eventually, she wrote resignation letters to the principal of his school and gained access to Dad's email account. Claiming to be helping them simplify their lives, she then went on to cancel all of their utility and credit card bills. The police are called in once more, but Olivia seemed to enjoy operating just outside the law. It is difficult to make a case for her quick removal since she is aware of the limits of her influence before going beyond established legal bounds. I've been painstakingly recording everything in an effort to compile a case that should lead to both required mental health treatment and criminal prosecution. My years of experience as a paralegal are coming in very handy. Every event, text message, and item of property damage is being recorded and validated. Since they are unable to go back to their own house, our parents are currently lodging at a motel. Mom's voice was hollow when she called me yesterday. We never realized we needed to protect the world from her because we spent so many years protecting her from the world. Next week is the date of the eviction hearing in court. Although Olivia is unaware of it yet, I have gathered proof of financial fraud she has perpetrated over the previous few years using our parents' information. I've been planning for years because sometimes the best defense is a well-prepared offense. Third update. Nobody could have predicted how dramatically the final meeting with Olivia would unfold. She went from using psychological warfare to open criminal action after being served with the official eviction notice. She planned what I can only characterize as a deliberate attempt to demolish everything our family had worked so hard to create 3 days prior, on what would be her last night at our parents' house. She gained access to Dad's retirement funds and tried to move the whole amount to an offshore account she had covertly opened. Fortunately, it was discovered in time by the bank's fraud detection system. After that failed, she started methodically destroying priceless family relics, including Dad's collection of first edition books from his teaching career, our great-grandmother's wedding china, and photo albums from the 1940s. All of them were purposefully destroyed. She even claimed to be cleaning the house of generational trauma, while live-streaming portions of her outburst on social media. When she found out about the covert camera system I had lawfully built with our parents' consent to record her activities, the issue reached a breaking point. She reacted violently and instantly. Screaming that she would sooner burn the house down than allow them to win, she snatched up a kitchen knife and began slicing furniture. I was asked to disclose the extensive evidence file I had put together by the police negotiator. It included years' worth of documented incidents, including surveillance footage from the house demonstrating her deliberate destruction of property, financial documents demonstrating systematic theft from our parents' accounts, and medical records demonstrating her meddling in Dad's medical care. Olivia was finally arrested following a 4-hour standoff. The police's discovery that she had been using several false identities during her booking, however, was the true shock. She has reportedly been using similar strategies to con other families, posing as a distant cousin in need of assistance or a long-lost relative. Currently, the district attorney is pursuing several felonies, including identity theft, criminal threats, criminal destruction of property, and attempted financial fraud. The foundation of their argument is now the evidence I have accumulated over the years. Last thoughts. While they deal with everything, our parents are living with me in San Francisco. Just the 3 of us had our first genuine family meal in years yesterday. I keep thinking about all the signs we ignored, all the times Madison tried to tell us, Mom sobbed during dessert. We were so caught up in the idea of not losing her that we never realized we were losing ourselves, said Dad, who has now begun to recover his health now that he is no longer influenced by Olivia. During the police search, the vintage pocket watch that Olivia had stolen years prior was discovered among her belongings. I'm reminded that all realities come to light in due time as I hold it and listen to its steady tick. My dad handed it to me last night and said, "It should have been yours all along." Going forward, we're concentrating on family healing, the genuine sort, based on openness and respect for one another rather than coercion and terror. The person who ought to have been closest to you is sometimes the most difficult to eliminate out of your life. However, we've discovered that a smaller, healthier family is preferable to a larger, toxic one. I appreciate all of your help and guidance during this trip. When things got hard, your remarks kept me going. We are especially grateful to the community's legal experts who provided advice. You are truly remarkable. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.